Okay, guys, we're going to start off with chapter 6. So what we'll try to do is do 2 or 3 handed assignments a week just to make sure we're keeping on top of things. All right, nothing too crazy. What I was thinking was maybe after we do this, you watch this PowerPoint, you could put keep open a sheet and write down your examples for these things. All right, this way it gives me proof that you're listening and doing the stuff, or that you're at least going through the slide. All right, so chapter 6 would be fraud and misrepresentation, okay, because we're looking at describing a genuine agreement. All right, so we're looking at contracts, and what do we need? We need a genuine agreement to have it, right? A genuine agreement is a meeting of the minds. So Dan wants to sell me his old video camera. I agree to buy it for a certain amount of time. That would be a contract. We would have a meeting of the mind. What makes a defective agreement, right? Fraud, misrepresentation, a mistake, duress, undue influence. All right, so let's just go through them. So fraud is deliberate deception intended to secure an unfair or unlawful gain. All right, so Dan selling me the video camera knowing that it doesn't work, okay? Or that after a certain amount of time, it shuts off. Why don't we go with that? All right, so if I play the video camera, right, I have two choices. I can rescind or cancel the contract. I could sue for money damages. In this case, it doesn't really make sense. Okay, I wouldn't win any. All right, because fraud is deliberate deception, you may also try to collect punitive damages. I can say it hurt my ability to videotape my new YouTube show, so it delayed me and I was losing money because of that, and I should be compensated for that. Okay? So there, first off, there must be a false representation of fact. Okay, the party making the representation must know it's false. The reason why Dan's getting rid of the camera is because he knows after 10 minutes the camera automatically shuts off, and then he has to, it stops and you have to let the camera cool off. Knowing that, he decides to get rid of it, but doesn't tell me that. Okay, so he must know that to be true. The false representation must be made with the intent that it to be relied upon. I'm taking the camera because I believe that it's going to work, right? And Dan knows that, and he uses that in his false representation. Okay. Now, if it was for something a little different, where I didn't rely on that part, then that wouldn't necessarily be fraud. Okay, we must actually suffer some monetary loss. Okay, I've paid him for the camera. It doesn't really work. I'm losing money. Okay, false representation. Okay, of a material fact. A material fact is a fact that is important, that it matters to one of the parties. It cannot be a promise of something that will happen in the future or someone's opinion. So in this case, the material fact would be what they're talking about. So the material fact is that the camera works perfectly and that there are no problems with it. Okay, it's not to say they talk about sales talk. Oh, with this car you'll get a lot of dates. Oh, you'll make the best videos ever. Everybody on YouTube will be watching. Okay, that's kind of like a sales talk. That's how Dan is trying to get me to buy the camera. I know the camera is not going to get me the views on YouTube. It's the content we get it. Okay, so he's allowed to talk things like that. All right, this is an opinion and a promise of something in the future. Okay, actions intended to deceive are considered to be false representation. Okay, concealment, choosing not to reveal important information. Okay, passive fraud or non-disclosure. All right, it's not that I'm just holding back information from you knowingly. Okay, if one party has special knowledge about the subject and the other party relies on the party's expertise, the knowledgeable party is obligated to reveal any facts. Right, so I'm a novice to using the camera. Dan is an expert, and he's not giving me. I'm relying on what he knows about the camera to be able to do this. Okay. Representation known to be false. The party making the representation must be aware that it's false. Okay. This may be shown by proving actual knowledge or by showing the statement was made recklessly without regard for the truth. Okay, if he doesn't know that it's false, okay, then he won't be held responsible. The person making the presentation must intend, so him giving me this information, he's relying upon me to use this information as part of my negotiations. All right? False representation must be reasonably relied upon by the other party when the agreement is made. Okay, resulting loss. Unless you suffer loss as a result, you cannot win a lawsuit for fraud. Okay, so I can get rid of the contract, right? Person can make an innocent statement that turns out to be false, right? So Dan makes a comment about it, but it's a statement that he's making. You may not win damages if it was an innocent misrepresentation. Okay, what about a mistake? People sometimes enter into contract believing that certain information is true when it is actually not, or that information is not true when it really is. Okay? When the truth is learned, one or both parties may wish to avoid. It says here, it's avoid the contract. My PowerPoint just kind of combined everything. All right. You may cancel the contract. May or not possible. Okay, unilateral mistake. So this is when an error on the part of one of the parties to the contract. Person usually cannot avoid a contract because of such a mistake. Making a bid for 1.5, which should have been 2. Tiffany agreed to a contract to tutor Dan 5 times the next month. Dan thought he agreed to 3 times, but he signed a contract saying 5. Okay? People who sign agreements are bound to them, even if they have not read them or mistaken about what is said. Your signature shows agreement. All right, now this was a video from Seinfeld. It was John Voight's car. George can void the contract because it was not the person George thought it was. So let's just pop this video on, see if this works. I've never done this at home during a video. So the video pops up. Maybe it doesn't. And then we watch. Probably get a commercial.
Writing's not that easy.
Writing is
Grammarly can help. This sentence is grammatically correct, but it's wordy and hard to read.
Stop yelling, I see. All right. This is the car George owns.
Sup? Come on, put the top up. It's November. I feel alive, Jerry. Let's check out the glove box. Pencil. Hey, you don't think... Sure, that's John Voight's pencil. John Voight's teeth marks. Owner's manual. You know what? This car was owned by John Voight. You see? I told you. Except John is spelled with an H. J-O-H-N. No. Doesn't John Voight spell his name J-O-N? What do you say? Nothing. I'm sure John probably misspelled his own name. I know sometimes I spell Jerry with a G. And an I. Get out of the car! That's right, you heard me. Get out. You are ruining this whole experience for me. Oh, look. There's Gregory Peck's bicycle! Get out! And Barbara Mandrell's skateboard! Get out! All right, so George bought the car thinking it was owned by John Voight, so he thought it was, so he should be able to get out of the contract. Okay, bilateral mistake. Both parties to a contract have mistaken an important fact. When this mistake occurs, either party may void the contract. Okay, suppose both parties entering into a contract believe that the duties described in the agreement can be performed, when in fact they cannot. Okay, in the situation, both parties can get out. A car, right? So we make a contract. I'm at school and I'm selling my car to Mr. Corrigan. We're signing the contract and the car is back in Bayside. Turns out it was hit and destroyed. So we cannot fulfill the agreement even though we thought we could. Okay? Both parties can be mistaken as to the identity of the subject matter when they enter into a contract. The contract can be avoided by either party. Right? We disagree over which car we're talking about. I'm selling a Honda Civic. He thought I was selling him my minivan. Okay, parties to an agreement must enter into it voluntarily, not under duress. Duress is overcoming a person's will by use of force or by threat of force or bodily harm. Physical, emotional duress, economic duress. Okay, when physical force is used, contract is void, physical duress. When physical force is threatened, the contract is voidable. Okay, you wear the suit or you'll never work as a pimp again. Okay, so you're required to wear this purple suit. You refuse to, and then we put pressure on you. Okay? Void has no legal effect. An agreement that is missing one of the elements would be void, such as an agreement to do something illegal. So it means the contract doesn't exist in a sense, right? Voidable contract is when a party to a contract is able to void or cancel a contract for some legal reason. The void, it was never a legal contract. It was illegal. Okay, it is not void in itself, may be voidable by one or more of the parties. A contract between minors could be voidable by either one of them. Okay, undue influence. They're the elements of dependency relationship. One party is dependent to the other party because of ill health, old age, or mental immaturity. So if you're taking care of your elderly parent, you could use undue influence on them to get them to sign over their home. Right? Unfair or improper pressure, the independent person using excessive pressure to force the dependent person to enter a contract. Okay, so I forced my mom into selling her home to me. Otherwise, I'll put her out in the street. Okay, the beneficial contract results benefits the independent party at the expense of the dependent party. That, my friends, is the end of the chapter 6 notes. Okay, tomorrow I will go over the questions. Let's make sure all the questions are up online. Okay, they should be in Google Classroom already. It's the first 3 pages, I believe. I will look at that tonight, and then I will go over that, and you'll watch that. So why don't we do this? Let's go 5 things. Let's pick 5 of the elements of an agreement, and you give me an example. Okay, so you only have to do 5. There's a few more than 5 in there, but you guys, let's do 4. You guys pick 4, and we'll go from there. Okay. All right, guys, have a wonderful day.